Let's toss it over to Tim Ring, who's standing by with the NFL veteran, Brian Jennings. Guys, for the second straight time here, Carson Palmer looks like he might just go into Seattle and walk away with a victory.
You know what, Tyler? It certainly looked like that in the first half. Tim Ring, Brian Jennings, the former Sun Devil, the former 49er, as we kind of talk about this one as we await the finish in Seattle. As Tyler mentioned, Brian, currently 25-17. The Cardinals now kind of in hang-on mode out there. I'll tell you one thing. It's not over, obviously, but if the Cardinals do lose this game, it's because of points left on the field in the first half, because that was a first half dominated by the Arizona Cardinal offense.
Absolutely. In the first half, almost couldn't have been better for the Cardinals in the way they took the crowd away. It's such a difficult environment to have success, and if you can get that crowd to be quiet, then you're halfway there. Unfortunately, had the turnover in the red zone that cost them points, and they left some other points in the field, but the first half was a great job of taking the crowd away.
Yeah, are you surprised at the success the Cardinals had throwing the football with Larry Fitzgerald, Michael Floyd, obviously Carson Palmer slinging it around back there against, the Legion of Boom, one of the best, if not the best, secondaries in the National Football League?
If you look at Floyd's footwork, getting it both feet down, backpedaling in the corner of the end zone, absolute unbelievable catch. And they have so many weapons at this point. The Cardinals have so many weapons. Yep. It's almost impossible to take everybody away, so someone's going to hurt you, and they're able to do that with Fitzgerald and Floyd in the first half.
All right, we're going to hopefully get some highlights later in the show when that game ends in Seattle. Again, it's early heading to the fourth quarter right now. Quickly, an update on Mike Iupati. If you were watching that game earlier, Iupati down on the field. The ambulance had to go out onto the field. He was carted off, taken to a nearby trauma center. I can give you the updated right now. CT scan and MRI, both normal. The feeling in his extremities had returned. Iupati and Cam Chancellor collided. Iupati's head and neck taking a serious jolt on the play. Brian, before Mike, you played with Mike. I'm going to get into that in a second. But you've been on the field in these situations when the cart comes out, when the ambulance comes out. I can only imagine what's going on through the minds of not only his teammates, but the opposition as well.
Absolutely, and I would say the number one thing that comes to mind is it puts the game in perspective. I know Mike. I love Mike, praying for him. And hopefully full recovery. It wasn't as bad as it appeared. Taking away an ambulance is a scary thing. But when you have an event like that, it really seems to take the wind out of your sail sometimes, right? So this is a situation where it puts the game in perspective. You start really thinking about, we're out here playing a game. It's not actually a matter of life and death. Right. So let's make sure we all get out of this thing okay and safe.
Are the next 4 or 5 plays difficult? Do you need to kind of rev yourself back into game mode?
I think so, and that's where it just changes your idea of what's important, right? And then you got to get back to the business of playing pro football and handling your business.
You have been involved in your post-playing career with Concussion Care Center, so you are quite familiar with the precautions that team doctors and doctors at the trauma center will take. What goes on right now at the trauma center with Mike Iupati when the NFL does that?
Well, with a neck injury like this, you're talking about ruling out every potential life-threatening condition. So you have to rule out any fractures or bleeds that could potentially cost him his life. So that's the first priority for when you have the ambulance come out like that. The ambulance absolutely it's almost as good as being injured while in an emergency room. So the level of care is absolutely best in the world, and they're going to do everything they can to make sure that his life is taken care of, and then we'll worry about his playing days in the future.
Yeah, once again, Mike Iupati taken to a trauma center. The feeling in his extremities, he regained that. CT scan, MRI, normal. We'll await word, obviously, maybe more tonight, maybe more tomorrow from the Arizona Cardinals on the prognosis for the Cardinals starting right guard. Meantime, again, fourth quarter, 25-17. Brian, this game was 5-0 at one point.
Yeah.
It was a few inches and yards away from being 21-0. I mean, you get down to the 6, you throw a pick. You get down to the 11-yard line, you go in reverse, you kick 3 instead of 7. And then Russell Wilson dropped the ball in the end zone. If the Cardinals just could have scooped it up, it would have been 7 more. Instead, it's a safety, which is great, but it's 2 instead of 7. And that's why you have 5-0 instead of 21-0.
Right, and that's where I would say when you have a team down, you really want to throttle them. And we've seen earlier in the season when the Cardinals had leads, they're not afraid to punish their opponent. So in the first half, you had a couple of opportunities to score some more points, but they were absolutely dominant. And letting the team get back in it, letting the crowd get back in it, you have to get the momentum back in order to get away with it.
Well, they haven't won the game yet. They may not win it, but I'll tell you, the level of dominance we saw from the Cardinals in the first half has to make you feel pretty good about the team going forward. But if you lose this game, certainly you let the Seahawks back into the division, and you also are kicking yourself for, the what-if thing, had you done a better job putting points on the board in the first half. All right, we're going to have more with Brian Jennings. We got a lot to talk about tonight, not only the Arizona Cardinals, but also the state of Brian's alma mater, Arizona State University, starting to turn the tide on the recruiting trail. Brian has some thoughts on that. So for now, Tyler,